The second of the three M's, management. Hello again, this is Forrest Owens. I'm an aviation lawyer, a private pilot, and an FAA licensed airframe and power plant mechanic. The second M, management. This is where business convenience runs directly into FAA regulatory structure. And in my experience, this is where some of the most dangerous ownership's assumptions are made. Owners sometimes, but also often, believe that they can outsource management without outsourcing risk. They assume that the management company is handling everything, and therefore exposure has shifted away from the owner. That assumption is often wrong. The governing concept here is operational control. Under 14 CFR Section 1.1, General Definitions, operational control means the exercise of authority over initiating, conducting, or terminating a flight. That definition is deceptively simple. In practice, it is one of the most litigated and scrutinized issues in private aviation. Why? Because many ownership structures are built around flexibility. Dry leases, management agreements, charter offset arrangements, related entity use, and hybrid Part 91 and Part 135 operations. Each of these can be lawful. Each of these can also become problematic if the documents say one thing and the actual operation reflects another. That is why 14 CFR Section 91.23 requires large aircraft leases to identify the person responsible for operational control, and why FAA Advisory Circular 91-37B warns that parties can use devious leases or conditional sales contracts to make it appear that a lessee has operational control when in reality someone else does. The FAA's concern is not stylistic drafting. Its concern is whether the real operator is trying to avoid the certification and operating rules that apply to charter. The FAA Safe Charter guidance is equally direct. It warns pilots and operators about sham dry leases and wet leases in disguise. Situations where parties are effectively furnishing the aircraft and one crew member as a package, even though the paperwork tries to present the argument as private carriage or pure leasing. The 2011 Johnson legal interpretation makes the point even more concrete. The FAA explained that a lessee's use of the same management company as the owner may be permissible, but it also may indicate that a supposed dry lease is really a wet lease in disguise, entered into to avoid Part 119 certification. That is exactly the kind of nuance that gets missed when owners treat management as an administrative service rather than a regulatory allocation of authority. Now, consider a real-world enforcement example. In 2020, the FAA issued an emergency order revoking Paradigm Air operator certificate, alleging that the company conducted at least 34 unauthorized common carriage charter flights, including flights for professional sports teams, while using pilots who had not completed the training and proficiency checks required for common carriage operation. That is the management risk in sharp focus. The issue was not merely who booked the airplane. The issue was whether the operation in substance had crossed into charter without proper authority, personnel, and compliance structure. That is why I sometimes tell clients to remember that management is not hospitality, it is command architecture. The management agreement, therefore, cannot be treated as boilerplate. It should address scheduling authority, pilot selection, crew employment, agency status, maintenance coordination, dispatch functions, charter use, expense allocation, record keeping, insurance interface, indemnity structure, and above all, operational control reality. If the actual operation diverges from those provisions, the paper will not save the parties. Another operational point matters here. Illegal charter cases rarely begin with a dramatic event. They usually begin with a pattern. One owner, one management company, one airplane, a series of leases, the same crew, the same scheduling channel, and revenue that looks suspiciously like charter revenue. The pattern is what regulators, insurers, and litigants study. Remember this. In private aviation, management is not about who answers the phone. It is about who controls the flight. When management is properly structured, it gives the owner efficiency, compliance support, and lawful flexibility. When it is poorly structured, it invites FAA scrutiny, insurance complications, contract disputes, and very expensive hindsight. The bottom line is simple. Every aircraft management structure should be judged not by how convenient it looks at signing, but by how operational control would be proven after a subpoena, an audit, or an FAA enforcement inquiry. Thank you for your interest in this topic. This information is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice. If you have any questions, they are certainly welcome. Please direct those questions to admin@aviationlegalcounsel.com. We look forward to helping you navigate these issues with precision.